In this video, I'm going to be covering how we've automated cold email with Claude Code, Clay, and n8n. This is going to be the three main AI agentic tools that we're using to operate our cold email system. And in this video, I'll be covering everything from how we're automating research and development, infrastructure management, list building, copywriting, reply management, and more. So let's dive into it. This is probably a longer video, but I'm going to be explaining each workflow, and then I'll show a real example of what it looks like. Take notes to the valid one. So the first workflow is going to be how we are automating the GTM strategy side of things. We take all of our clients through. When a client onboards with us, they fill the onboarding form, and then from that onboarding form, we are able to generate a full go-to-market strategy for their outbound campaigns from that form and from this Claude Code skill that we're using. But the general basis of it, so there's gonna be like 7 main steps of this skill. I'm not gonna read all of this to you because it's gonna take way too long. But essentially, Claude Code is gonna perform deep market research on the client. It's gonna then map out its full TAM. Then we are going to identify what the ICPs are, so ideal customer profiles. Like, what are some qualification metrics that create that? What's their employee count? What are the industries? What are the roles that we're going to go after? We are going to find accounts, so the companies that we want to look for. Claude Code is essentially just going to identify databases for that. And then contact sourcing is going to identify like where are the best places to source contacts from. Accounts are the companies. And there we're going to have some general messaging creation. So it's going to come with like the basic concepts. In a later prompt or in a later Claude Code skill, show the like Claude Code skill we use for creating really refined messaging. But what's going to happen here is Claude Code will just generate a basis for messaging with some English, but this is not going to be like the final thing. And none of this is like final, but this essentially Claude Code is just giving us the basis, the foundation for what the GTM strategy will look like for a client. And if you want to do this for your own company, you can do as well. Here's a prompt. I'm going to show this document below, by the way, so you can take these prompts and use it for yourself. But this is like a short version of the skill that we use. But I'll go ahead and copy and paste this into Claude Code and show you guys what that looks like. All right, now we are in Claude Code, and all you do is take that prompt from the document, paste in here, and then it's going to start doing sending. So as you see here, Claude Code is building out the skill. So I'm creating a separate skill from the GTM strategy skill I already have. So just going to build it out, and this is pretty much what you would see on your end. But now these skills built, and we can run it. So I'm going to use an example company for this skill. So first, let me activate it. As you can see, I already had one of these built out. So strategy builders, the name of this one. You can name these skills whatever you want. But what I need in this case, I don't have an onboarding form or onboarding calls transcript, so I'm just going to have it skip that step. I want you to create a GTM strategy for owner.com. I don't have any sales or marketing assets. I don't have their onboarding form, and I don't have their onboarding call transcript. So just do some research on them. Run your prompt. That's the context I can give you. So we're going to do this for owner.com. These guys, they target restaurants. They offer a solution for, instead of these small restaurants having to use things like DoorDash or Uber Eats, Owner gives them their own app where people can order and they can save money on commissions essentially. So we're going to have it generate GTM strategy. All right, so as you can see, the skill is completed running. As the skill is running, it was checking off all these steps. So going through every single step, checking it off, making sure it's doing everything one by one. Let's go ahead and add it to my folder, which we can see here. So here are the custom prompts. So for every single run, dependent on the client, their needs, and like whatever context we give the skill, it's actually going to adjust the prompts accordingly to give the most accurate output possible. So based on the output from the deep market research, it's going to affect the prompt for the TAM segmentation, and then for the ID, and then so on and so forth, right? So it's using the context from that and adjusting the prompt accordingly to give the most accurate output possible. So here are the outputs: raw research, you see all the information, company analysis, market landscape, prompt analysis, just kind of getting a general idea of what all that looks like. Competitive intelligence, looking at competitors, the YouTube challenges, yada yada, TAM segmentation. So we got about 22 pages here. So we got ideal customer profiles, outlining all different personas, like the owner. Yeah, so we can see everything here. And he did all this in like 10 minutes. So pretty solid stuff. Messaging, so kind of different messaging, blah, blah, blah. Some of the criteria we gave it for messaging. And yeah, coming with some pretty solid stuff. So really like not a bad first iteration. And again, it did all this in like 10 minutes. So super solid. Again, it's in the document. You can check it out yourself. All you need to do is copy and paste this. You have, you can use the skill I just used for this. Now we're going to dive into our list building playbook. So most people are still writing the old playbook. They buy a list, they scrape it, they blast out emails, they see most likely not the best numbers. They buy a bigger list and then they hope for better and just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a better result when it's actually just a downward spiral. And maybe the reason it's probably because you're off your timing, or in some cases, both, right? So what we want to do is we want to build a list more around intent than just general basic information, right? So it's okay to build broad lists, but in an ideal world where we have available buying intent signals, we scrape those, which I'm going to show workflows on how we can do that. And then we use this for our campaigns, right? So for an example, right? So as an example, let's say, you're selling umbrellas, right? If you're selling umbrellas on a sunny day, it's not nearly as relevant as if you're selling umbrellas when, the weather forecast says it's going to rain, right? That's essentially the idea behind intent-based list building is we're catching people at the time where the thing is relevant versus just kind of selling it whenever. Here's some ways we are using signals and how we are scraping them. So first one is like brands running ads. So a brand is running ads, they are spending, they have budget, right? They are looking to grow. So if you're selling some sort of marketing service or a sales service, selling that to brands that are running ads is gonna be a lot more relevant, right? Versus brands that aren't running ads. If a brand isn't running ads, they're not doing any marketing, they're probably not gonna have much intent towards a marketing service versus brands that are. Another one is hiring signals. So if we see that companies are hiring for a specific function that is relevant to what you sell, again, that's going to be an indicator that they're looking for, again, what you sell, right? They're looking for marketing services, or they're looking for finance services, or looking for engineers, right? That's a signal, and that's a in for you, right? Open vacancies. So this is if we identify whether, after a COO left a company and we need to replace them, right? This is again where you can, if you offer recruiting, then this is a good workflow to run. But even if you're just running any general services, identifying, some holes within their company in terms of could be a good campaign to run. Compare calling out competitors within the email, and then kind of showing how you're better or what you're doing differently. And this is especially relevant if you are able to mention a competitor that, the prospect is using. So let's say they're using HubSpot. Another angle is mentioning competitors. So saying like what a competitor is doing that you might not be doing. So for example, let's say you're selling SEO and we mentioned that, hey, XYZ competitor is ranking above you on keywords. Here are these keywords. Here's how we can help, we rank above your competitor, right? Just an example of a competitor, or like any other cases where it could be relevant to mention a competitor when a competitor is doing XYZ thing and you aren't. So solid campaign to run. And then local businesses, decision makers at scale. So finding local businesses and scraping them are really solid campaigns too. And I'm going to show you how you can find these people with AI that, most databases don't have this local data, right? Like LinkedIn's not going to have the random mom and pop shop down the street. So some more ideas that you could do is, things like engage with commenters on competitors' posts, use to like Triggerify for that. Bunch of different examples here. I won't cover them all. Just dive into it. So just an example of an email when you have intent. All right, old way. Sarah, want to reach out because I think our platform would be great for company. We have sales teams improve the outreach. We love 15 is connect. Not really much intent there. Saw you just join company as VP of sales last week. Congrats. Most new VPs in the position spend the first 60 days rebuilding the outbound stack. Curious if that's on the radar. All right, so we're approach here. We're trying to, actually leave a value, but we're also mentioning something that's relevant to the timing. And that's just an example of what that looks like, right? So some of the stack, Apollo Sales Navigator, Prospero, AIR Blitz. Prospero AIR Blitz is going to be like the best place for finding companies. In terms of enrichment, we're using Clay, Build With, all these different ones. Signals, predict leads, Triggerify for LinkedIn, and then Clay signals around job changes, and then sending, we're using Emo Bison Smart. So here's this workflow. So the first workflow I'm going to show you is lists of brands that are actively running ads. So let me show you the Clay table here. In this case, we've pulled a list of e-commerce brands, and we have gone ahead and connected Appify to our Clay. What Appify is doing is we are using a actor within Appify that is just on the marketplace that scrapes Google ads. So as you can see, It's identifying whether companies are running Google ads. It's found some, it's pulling the link, and then we can target the companies that are running Google ads. Pretty simple. Appify has a massive marketplace of different workflows that you can choose. All you need to do is just sign up, fill your account with some credits, and then you can go ahead and run workflows like this. The next workflow is going to be new hires. So this is going to be identify people who have recently joined the company and double check and verify that the job change is accurate. Use a new role as a recent transition, as a personalization angle, et cetera, et cetera. So looking at this example list, as you can see here, we are enriching the people from the companies. So as you can see here, we are enriching the people from the companies. What we are doing, we are enriching for the start date. So look at their start date. We can see if they're someone who has joined recently. So if they was joined within like the last, 6 months, that's typically a good time to reach out. So for example, February 28th, that's pretty recent. You mean all good? Yeah, April 30th, pretty recent. So these are people who are new hires, and depending on their role, what they typically challenges they typically face when entering your company, we can adjust our messaging according to the timing there. So in this case, we're just using Clay's enrichment tool for enriching person and then finding this data out from here. The next workflow is going to be competitor callouts. So what we need to do is we need to find the competitors. So here is the table. Typing here, we just pulled a random list, and all we're doing is just we're having Claygen search for dark competitors. So this is a pretty simple prompt. Again, I'll share this document and it'll have all these workflows within it. So you can go and look at these prompts for yourself and use them yourself. But essentially, we're just having Clay, this Claygen tool, which is an AI web research tool, go and search the internet for 3 direct competitors as if like, ChatGPT would. And then I'll put them here within these columns. And as we see here, it's mentioning 3 competitors for each of these companies based on their domain, and then any web research that Claygen does. And for emails like this, we can mention, Corn Fairy is outranking you on Google, or Corn Fairy is running outbound and you are. Things like that. We can adjust our messaging according to mentioning a relevant competitor that they might know, and can kind of like poke the bear a bit, the fact that they're missing out on something, right? And that's really the main idea here. And for the next workflow, this is going to be covering how we're scraping and enriching local businesses. So the thing with local business data is it's not on LinkedIn, because the reason why it's not on LinkedIn is because a lot of these small local businesses don't make LinkedIn account. So you have to find them somewhere, and they all reside on Google Maps for the most part. So essentially what we're doing here in this workflow, we're scraping Google Maps, we're formatting the data, and then we're finding people from that. So we pulled people from Google Maps. We're getting all our data here. We're then enriching with Prospeo. We're using Claygen, which is the AI web research tool that I mentioned in the last workflow. We're having them search for people on Google. So Claygen is searching Google to find the names of the founders. Depending on what they found, Prospeo will go out and then enrich, see if they can find emails. If not, what we'll have Claygen do is search their website, find any emails that they find. So as you can see here, Claygen is finding emails from the websites, and then from there we can contact these people. And these email addresses are gold because the thing is, since these enrichment providers are not finding them, most people are not contacting these people. Most people are not scraping websites with an AI agent to find emails. So these are really powerful. Even these info at, specifically in most cases when you're targeting a local business, if they have an info email, it's simply managed by the founder. So the owner is, if you want to contact the owner, these people or these emails are typically ran by the owner, and these are viable to reach out to. So this is a really strong workflow for getting that extra data coverage and finding these people. And then for the next workflow, this is going to be for companies hiring for specific roles, which is up here. So in this case, we're just using Clay's basic hiring enrichment table. It's pulling all the different, so we search for the role, anything regarding social media growth. And what Clay's doing is outputting all the companies that are actively have this role going, basic information on the company domain, all this stuff. So then we can enrich for people at these companies and then hit up the people who are, in charge of hiring or any relevant roles that we can mention for what we're trying to sell, right? So we see the companies, the role, and then when it was posted. So the more recent it was posted, the more relevant it is. So like reach out to someone at the company who's a decision maker when they've posted a role for social media on April 29th and having like a social media offer, like let's say you're in a place, you offer placing social media experts as like a recruiting agency, then it's pretty relevant, right? So this is a pretty simple workflow to run, but can be a powerful one for sure. Now we are going to dive into the cold email copywriting skill. So I love this skill so much. This has been the best iteration of a cold email copywriting AI tool that I've ever used. And you can do this from this video right now. So again, if you go in this document, there's going to be a big old prompt here that pretty much what you can do is just copy and paste in the Claude code. So what I'm going to do, I'll walk you through the prompt real briefly, and then I'm going to show you a real example. So start at the top. What it's going to be asking for is context. So campaign intake, what it wants is going to be segment, audience, target dream tile. So when this tool creates messaging, it wants to create for a particular segment and a particular persona or set of personas. So it's never going to create like broad messaging. It always wants to go for something as specific as possible. So we're getting the best messaging possible, right? It's going to ask for dream companies. So it wants you to share dream companies because sharing dream companies with the AI is going to help give an idea of like, all right, if I was to write an email specific to McDonald's, or if I was to write an email specific to Taco Bell, what would that look like? A better idea of how to craft this email. Basically, it's going to give keywords around the product, so execution rules. Again, I'm not going to read through all of this. Core writing principles. So anytime an email is written, it's going to follow these main principles. And this is like going to be the foundation for the AI. Offer first, always, right? So I think most people know that a good email stems from a good offer. So emphasizing the offer, making it as valuable as possible is going to be important. Front end value, so leading with like some sort of resource. This is simply how we like to approach our emails. Zero fluff, so no unnecessary sentences, no unnecessary wording, just getting straight to the point. Brevity and clarity, so that's just keeping the email short and keep it really clear, easy to read, as relevant as possible. So trying to tailor into the pains, value propositions, the needs of the prospects that we've mapped out from previous research steps. Tone, we keep it short and conversational, lead with value props and whatnot. CTA, we don't typically go for a 15-minute meeting tomorrow. We like to keep it as open as possible. Then we come up with different email specifications. So like short, medium, different types of complexity. So simple, niche aware. So this is dependent on the different variants that we're trying to output. 3 different variants per angle and different lengths, different parts of the emails. So I'll let you read through all this. I won't read through all right now. But now I'll walk you through a real example of what this looks like in practice. I just call it messaging. Well, messaging is going to run the full skill I just showed you. It's going to ask me first for the basic information that it needs. So it's a common theme with us prompting AI to like ask questions. We're first forced to give it the most context possible because the quality of your outputs typically stems from great context and then very specific prompting. So what we're trying to do here is give it the best context possible, right? But for the sake of the video, I'm not going to give the best context possible. I'm just going to have it write emails for owner.com as well. I'm just going to tell it to come up with its own idea. So I want you to just write emails for owner.com. You can choose a segment, job titles, whatever you think is relevant for targeting or for creating a campaign for owner.com. So I'm just going to have it run. It's going to choose the segment, the average count, and all that based on the information, on the research that's done about owner.com so far. So we now have the output from the skill. So let's review this messaging. So when the output is done, it's going to outline just the basic ideas behind all the messaging, behind all the variants, more information. And so this is nice if you to share with the client. So when you put this in a Google Doc, it looks clean. It's all in different segments, dream companies. So like Federal Donuts, different restaurants here, and other information on targeting. That's going to show the copy. So in this case, it's an outline the persona. So for this email, we're targeting restaurant owners, founders, industry independent restaurants, point, complexity. So it's a simple email that's really short. First name, third-party apps, quietly take 15 to 30% of every company order. We put together a breakdown of what commissions cost each month, yada, yada. So very simple, but solid. Right, ordering page. So short email as well, different angle. First name, most delivery customers never come back directly because the order list is someone else's app. I sketched out the brand ordering, so just like a value prop. Are you interested? So solid emails. First name, plenty of customers try company, never come back. So a short playbook, turning those into one-time orders into repeat. So like this is a nice little lead magnet, or it's touching a nice pain point where it's like, people are using these delivery apps, they're taking commission, but then they're also losing on short repeat customers, whereas it can nurture these customers better, right? So this is what the outputs look like. And what you can do with this is you can continue to speak back to it and give it feedback, and you can iterate off that. But the nice thing about the iteration here is that it has a base foundation from the skill prompt that is set. So like for the fundamentals, it's not like you're speaking to a completely just raw AI that has no context. This skill really helps you fine tune the messaging much faster versus starting from scratch every time with ChatGPT or Claude. Now we covered R&D, list building, and copywriting. Next step is replies. So we need something to handle the replies, which is going to be our reply manager agent. So this is going to be a mix of Clay, n8n, and Claude. n8n is really great for this because it's good with like high data or high usage workflows, whereas Clay is not as can't take a lot of data and at scale. Whereas n8n can take thousands of replies per day, score them, and send them to Slack. Clay can kind of struggle with that. And Claude Code is just the UI isn't there for it. So I recommend n8n for this. But essentially, what this workflow does is anytime we receive a reply, it's going to score it based on intent. So what I mean by intent is if they're interested, if they're not interested, if they want us to reach back later, or if they want more information, things like that. It's kind of hard to see this workflow here. I would like to zoom in, but I've mapped all the steps here so we can read this together. But pretty much 6 buckets: interested, not interested, cost, wrong person, long-term follow-up, or out of office. And there's gonna be different cases and different buckets where each of these are pushed into based on the classification. So there's a base infrastructure. Base is going to be where we're storing all the replies, all the leads in general, and have a KPI dashboard from there. Cloud Code, Codex, so scoring enrichment, and it's supposed to be here, but anyways, AI MX Manager agent. This is every MQL we generate. So this is like a qualified interested response. They are going to be added to LinkedIn outbound. So this is if they score of 10. So we're also scoring these leads based on value. So let's say like Amazon responds, right? They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Their value is very high. They might be like a 10 out of 10 in terms of value, right? For the highest value leads, they'll be added to a LinkedIn outbound sequence. Whereas for like someone who's maybe a smaller company, they won't be added to that because they're maybe like a 5 out of 10, right? But in terms of reply classification, what's going to happen is any interested lead we generate, it's going to go to that qualification gate I just mentioned. If they're not interested, they'll be added to do not contact. Cost and processes, they're going to be sent to the same qualification gate. Wrong person, rerouted decision maker. So they say, hey, I'm the wrong person. You should reach out to XYZ. Our sales team would be notified of that. And then they can reach out to that decision maker. For long-term follow-up, say, hey, reach out in 6 months. We'll just add them to the newsletter. And if they're out of office, we wait 7 to 14 days to then add them to a new sequence. If a lead is interested and they are qualified, they will then be pushed to Slack and email. So that's where the sales team can respond and be notified in real time anytime we receive a response. If they are not qualified, then they'll just be added to the do not contact list because it doesn't make sense to reach out to them, right? And that's having there. What also is going to happen is for any of these interested qualified leads, we'll also enrich for their phone number so we can call them real time, add them to LinkedIn outbound, make sure that the reps are responding in 5 minutes, and then we can also add them to the newsletter as well. Right. All these will also be enriched to the CRM, so routed and enriched, and then the reps can follow up every 2 to 4 days, and we help with say like the follow-up templates, and Claude Code can actually automate follow-up depending on the CRM that you're using as well. So that is an option as well. Then next, what we're gonna have is the reply drafting agent. So what I just covered is the agent that scores the replies. Now we need something to actually generate the replies, right? So you should never be like in 2026. You shouldn't be manually responding to prospects ever, right? I mean, manually typing out responses. You should be generating responses with AI, QAing them, and then sending them, right? So we have this full template here, another workflow or another prompt that you can plug into Claude Code to generate it. Again, I'm not going to read all this because it's a lot, but I'll show you an example of what this looks like inside Claude Code. In this case, I have it set up to where I can just paste the email conversation and it'll get a reply. So I'm going to paste an example conversation from an email that we sent and got a reply to for your free email campaign. And as I was sure, send me more details and discuss my team. So paste this in here and see what it says. So the seal has generated the reply. So it's done some account research on the prospect and also context from our own company. So here's the reply. It sounds like a look first team conversation. As for you built whole campaign in 48 hours, ICP research, blah, blah. So it's talking about like the free campaign that we're offering. The sample itself, target accounts, or walk through live, and it'll be built specifically for capital markets. So that's their particular segment, worth 50 minutes and giving a time of day.
So there's an example. And yeah, no need to manually type the message. Claude can do this for you in seconds. This covers all the main functions within our entire cold email system. Again, R&D, building out the strategy, list building, all different list building workflows that we use that are intent-based. So we're finding the hottest prospects, the messaging workflow, the copywriting skill, creating all the different variants, reply manager agent, scoring all the replies that are coming in, and then the reply drafting agent, writing replies for all the replies. So pretty much got everything you need. Know the strategy, know how to build the lists with AI. AI writes the copy, AI scores all of the replies, and then AI writes the replies to the prospect. And all this can be connected via MCP with Claude Code and EOBison or whatever sequencer that you're using. I know for EOBison it works, but if you want to take this a step further, you can connect everything and like really fully automate everything. And if you want to learn how we build these workflows and get more of these workflows from our team, I have a paid community. It's called the GTMleads.io. If you made it this far in this video, I'm offering you 20% off. So shout out to you if you've made it this far. What's included in the community? We have a full outbound course, 17 hours of content, 30 plus Clay, n8n, and Claude Code templates that you can use, copy and paste. We have 3 weekly 1-hour live calls with myself, our COO, Lohit, and Shawshank, our head of GTM. These calls are super valuable. They're all recorded, and all the recordings are exclusive to the community. I have 24/7 community access, and then we are sharing daily GTM insight posts. That big workflow we're seeing works as well in the campaign. All these different things. Use code video20 at gtmelleads.io. So visit us at gtmelleads.io. We have a little explainer video you can check out there and all the different information here. So you can check it out. Use code video20 at checkout. Secure it there. It's for the monthly or the lifetime plan, and you can join us there. If you're interested in working with us, I run an outbound agency called pipeline.tech. We've worked with hundreds of B2B businesses collectively as a team. Our main purpose, we reach your entire market with outbound, reach all your contacts, and turn your outbound into a revenue engine. And it all starts with a free campaign. You can come to our website, apply for a free campaign, and we get it launched for you in 48 hours. Target campaigns, target your ICP, send leads right to your inbox, and you go from there. If you're interested in that, fill out the form, go to our website, pipeline.tech. You can, again, apply for a campaign, and we will build out for you within 48 hours and send leads directly to your inbox. So other than that, I hope you found this video useful. Again, that's everything. This document will be below if you are interested in checking it out and you want to use these workflows yourself. All the workflows will be in there. You can literally copy and paste them using yourself. Again, hope you found this valuable, and cheers. Thank you.